Let's get recording and get on Facebook. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is, Facebook. Did I tell you that I went over to Sergio's and he uploaded the interviews I've done so far? So I don't know whether he'll play all of them, but at least he took them
Oh, okay.
to put on the TV.
How's our posts coming along from previous weeks?
I tell you what, you are the best for sharing
Oh,
because
really?
because of the sharing that you've done, you're up over 1,000 people.
Peggy says you're welcome.
1,000 views, yeah. Yeah, tell her good job. Oops. Yeah, that's okay. Public, here we go. All right. Welcome, Steve. Happy to have you back here to talk about Longmont City Council and that you're running for at-large position. We talked about, we'll cover the issue of home rule city and also talk about the panel that happened at Left Hand Brewery a little bit because of your concern. There were no policy questions there. And you thought that it might have helped if people knew a little bit more. So let's go ahead and jump into the home rule city.
Good afternoon, Jenny. And thank you for doing this and allowing me time on the air. This has been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think I may have mentioned this before, but for 5 or 6 years, I was talking about the sanctuary city in Longmont. And finally, Mayor Peck mentioned, we're not a sanctuary city, we're a home rule city, and we get to make up our mind if we want to be a sanctuary city or not.
Oh.
I thought, oh, well, why didn't you tell me this for the last 3 or 4 years that I've been bringing up the topic all the time, you know? So evidently, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know all the parameters, but I think it's worth investigating. Longmont is a home rule city. We don't have to follow all the rules that are passed in Denver for the state of Colorado. We have some choices about whether, and I don't know the parameters. I don't know if it has to do with crime versus policy
Okay.
or where the distinction may come in. But I also said to her, I said, well, if we're not a sanctuary city, why don't you announce that so that people don't think that we are? And she never did. So I would like to pursue the home rule city aspect. For instance, one of my complaints is 5 or 6 years ago, Governor Polis, and actually he signed it into law, but then the Congress people wrote the law in the first place, that a misdemeanor shoplifting crime was no longer under $500, it was now under $995.
Okay.
So anybody can go into any store and steal $1,000 a day, and it's not even reported as a crime. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're a sanctuary city, can we say that we're not following that new law? We're going back to the $500 a day rule. And if people are stealing, they need to go to jail. So it's no crime is a non-victim crime. It may be something where someone's not beaten up and they're not bloodied and they're not having their car stolen. But even if you steal from a store, every other citizen now gets charged more money to make up that difference. The businesses have to spend more money to put everything behind lock and key to protect their merchandise. All those costs get passed on to other citizens. So every single crime has some level of victimhood base to it. And we need to reduce crime in Longmont and make it easier for customers to spend their money with our local businesses and allow everybody to prosper more.
That's interesting. I did not know that. There's been so much going on. That's great that you've got that covered. Thank you. Because I'm sure a lot of people don't know about that. I have heard that people have gone to Trader Joe's and they can walk out with $1,000 worth of stuff and not be prosecuted at all. And as
Exactly.
you point out, it's getting passed on to us. And that's where we kind of forget. But it is irritating to see that someone can walk out with that much in groceries.
And
But
it happens at Target, it happens at Walmart, it happens at Kohl's, it happens everywhere. And like I said, the cost does get passed on. There's a human nature factor here where a lot of people look at it and say, oh, it's Target, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, they can afford it.
right.
It always gets passed on to the end consumer.
And that's what we have to keep remembering. So thank you so much for sharing that information. Now, I think I saw in one of your posts, does that also include like broken windows, drugs, other things?
It's the same idea.
Okay.
And the thing is, I actually first heard of this on a TV show called Blue Bloods. And it's a New York police drama movie. And they're talking about broken windows, where even if it's a vacant building, if someone throws a rock and breaks a window, and other people say, well, it's no big deal, it's a vacant building, then other people see the windows broken and they start picking up rocks and they throw and break more windows. And then they get used to doing that and they break windows even on existing businesses. So
Okay.
there's a reason we have laws in this country, and we need to enforce the laws that we have. And then there'll be a lot less crime and everyone will be a lot happier. And that even goes with running red lights. I've seen people run red lights in Longmont that were 5 seconds after the light turned red.
Oh,
They didn't see anybody. They're like, oh well, I can go,
yeah,
because they saw someone go at 1 second and someone go at 2 seconds, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse. So we need to enforce the laws we have on our books.
true. Very true. Okay, let's move on to, oh, I just wanted to mention, I was looking at your Facebook post. And I love how you're talking about what you stand for. There was an all-star contributor who mentioned that budgets are being squeezed at the federal level of the government, but not at the city levels. I'm not sure if you happen to see that. How about giving your input on that?
I did see that. I don't agree with what they're saying. Budgets might be squeezed at the federal level and the state level, but they're absolutely being squeezed at the Longmont city level also. If not, why did we just have a $60 million budget increase? It was a 13% increase this year on top of a 13% increase last year. And like I've been saying, I don't know anyone that's making 26% more money now than they did 2 years ago.
True.
And
Yeah,
our population hasn't grown 26%. So I suspect there's a lot of waste going on in our budget for different people's pet projects. I also think that as the city builds more and more city-owned properties, whether it's for affordable housing, subsidized housing, whatever you want to call it, the city is not going to charge themselves property taxes.
right.
So if you have, let's say, three 350 unit apartment buildings, you have 1,000 more people living in government housing. Realistically, those people are not paying any property taxes. That means the rest of the city has to be charged more because you've got more road maintenance going on. You'll need more police, you need more fire protection. And if they're not paying their portion of the property taxes, then everyone else has to be paying more to make up the difference.
True.
So again, just like the broken windows, there is no victimless activity here.
Right.
If one portion is, so I think that's where some of the budget, budget money is coming from, is to cover the expenses that the people are not paying when they live in a city-owned property.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that. And so how would you work through the budget? Whose job is it to work through the budget? Is that city council or is that just the city manager?
The city manager and his staff make up the budget.
Okay.
And then the city council gets to preview, I believe it's over 600 pages this year, gets to go over the budget and approve it all.
Okay.
So they have the ability, although obviously it would be very time consuming, but the city council has the ability to go line by line, compare it to last year or 3 years ago, see how much each line is going up, see which lines are brand new, and decide if they want to keep that in the budget or not.
Okay. So how long of a process is that? Is that a month or a couple weeks?
They probably spend about a month on the budget overall.
Yeah.
Diane Chris could tell you. She's obviously on council and she's running for mayor. She's Ward 1 right now.
Yeah.
And she, especially being an accountant, she has a very good answer for that about the time it takes to go over the budget.
I do love the idea of getting people who understand the economics of a city into city council, but that's my personal view. So let's move on to, I also saw your comment about the Left Hand Brewery, Pints and Perspectives. There were probably close to 100 people there. And that was last week, the mayoral panel discussion. And I did notice that you put in there that the questions were superficial. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that, because you said that there were no policy questions. And if you are to work with the city council, being at large and you're chosen, what are some of the policy questions that are top of mind for you that you think that should have been asked of the mayoral people?
Sure. For instance, I was there that night. The last question they asked said something about, when your term is up, how do you want to be remembered? So everyone spent several minutes answering. I want everyone to know that I worked well with other people, that I researched problems, blah, blah, blah. But there was no real answer of something that will help Longmont. I would like to see people talk about what will they do to help. You will never solve it, but what will you do to help make homelessness a smaller problem? One of the huge expenses we have now is all of the, as I mentioned earlier, affordable housing. If we're paying a third of someone's rent, they can be on that policy for the next 50 years of their life. I would like to reduce that to 3 years and help give these people more training and more education so they can stand on their own 2 feet without making the rest of the city have to subsidize them for 47 more years. Crime is a big problem in North Longmont in particular. I've had many businesses talk to me about homeless people right in front of their stores so customers aren't coming in. I've had people talk to me about that home in North Longmont that had 8 sexual predators living in one house. Mm-hmm. And again, Diane Chris was instrumental in bringing that down to a limit of 3. And that's a step in the right direction. But I would like to bring it down to 1. Have no more than 1 felon living in any one house, so they're not around other criminals that can support each other. And again, to go back a little bit more, when I talked about the affordable housing, someone said to me, and they were right, someone said, what about disabled people and seniors? With disabled people and seniors, that's different. If they need longer time or 10 more years or something like that, that's very understandable, certainly for veterans. But we have a lot of able-bodied people that are just not motivated to do more because then they lose their benefit, their free rent, partially free rent. So I would like to find ways to motivate people. The other thing is this, with that $60 million that they just increased the budget, That takes $60 million out of circulation. So right now, businesses in Longmont are not doing really well. If the people of Longmont had another $60 million to go out and spend money in Longmont, those businesses would do better. They would hire more people. Then people could work close to home and not be on the roads driving to Boulder and Erie to go to work all the time. And that would help reduce traffic. So there's a lot of policies that can help make Longmont a better, more enjoyable place to live. And they just glossed over all of that night at Pints and Perspectives.
So let's go to your educate idea. How do you set up an educational program that you're talking about?
The first thing I would do is contact Scott Cook at the Chamber of Commerce. They've got almost 800 businesses that are part of the chamber now.
Right.
And I would like to get a memo out and talk to business owners and say, what can you do to be a mentor to help other people learn your industry, whether it's an insurance salesman, an electrician, a printer, anything, and see if we can't get businesses. It'd be good for the business also because they could start having a good employee that will learn, and then they can give them higher wages. But if people can learn how to be an HVAC person or an electrician, and this makes me go right over to Front Range Community College.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
They have a phenomenal training section over there that will train people in robotics and electronics, HVAC, plumbing, all kinds of stuff. So people can either be a more valuable journeyman employee or maybe hopefully one day get in and have their own business. But we can't just have a city of, what's the word I'm looking like fast food minimum wage workers. You know, we need to find ways for people to work and get higher incomes than just minimum wage.
Well, I don't know if you notice, but some of the places that you go into, there's, I don't know whether you call it a kiosk, but they're cutting back on employees on some of the fast food places. So
and that happened in California a couple of years ago. Newsom signed a bill increasing minimum wage for fast food only from $15 to $20 an hour. And within the first 18 months, several thousand businesses had gone out of business. 65,000 people were laid off, not just from the shut down businesses, but also from the automated kiosks that you're talking about. They actually have automated robots now that will put a burger on a grill and 37 seconds later flip that burger and 37 seconds later put that burger on a bun and pass it on down the line.
Oh, no.
So people are getting priced out of jobs and it's going to be increasing the unemployment throughout our country.
Right. Well, there's Tinker Mill here in town that I did hear they got a huge contract with somebody in Nebraska because they were creative. So I love the idea of Tinker Mill, where people can go in and use a lot of their facility, which can then create money and income for Longmont.
Right.
But I'm not sure very many people know about Tinker Mill.
Well, how about if we take Tinker Mill and multiply it by a couple hundred?
I love it. I love it.
A lot of people in Longmont.
Right. That's a space maker place. And of course, you know, I'm a big fan of Longmont Public Media, another space maker's place. So there are ideas that we can come up with. And so we're getting down on our time. I did have a friend of mine ask me about parking downtown. So I know you're concerned about city council possibly passing 7-story and more higher buildings. So if something like that were to pass, are people considering the parking and the driving and the traffic that ends up being downtown?
There's two parts to that. One is city council, or the city actually, in the past year, reworked Kaufman from like 2nd Street or 1st Street all the way up to 9th. They took out about 120 parking spaces to put in a bus lane. So people used to park on Kaufman and then go through a little alleyway,
Right.
and they could be shopping right on Main Street. So all those businesses on Main Street just lost all those potential customers that can't park on Kaufman anymore. And that's going to be hurting businesses. But now City Council, like you said, they want to build 7, 10, and maybe even 14-story buildings, even on Main Street. And someone pointed out to me that they're doing that because they want to make it a 15-minute city with no cars. This person told me that the state of Colorado had already purchased Main Street and First, the empty lot there, and they're building I forget if it's a bus or a train depot.
Oh, right.
And this is in the future. This is not in the next year or two, but 5
Right.
or 8 years down the road.
But we're paying for it.
But they need a lot more density right there on Main Street so people can walk to the depot. They want to make that area into a 15-minute city where there are no cars. So obviously, if there's no cars, there's no parking problem. But then all those businesses are going to have to shut down and move somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I do want to speak up and say, I love driving to the mountains. So I love having my car. So I'm just going to put that in there.
And again, when people talk about 15-minute cities, Longmont was not designed for that. So you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole.
I visualize that.
that it wasn't designed for. What happens with senior citizens that need to go shopping somewhere? They're going to walk in the wintertime with snow and ice on the roads and carry their packages back. Or a single mother with a 1 and 3-year-old, and the 1-year-old's in a carrier.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
And you've got to go shopping.
Everybody's healthy.
It's not practical, and we're spending millions and millions of dollars and affecting everyone's lifestyle to the negative, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's an idealistic view, and I just want to throw this in really quick because I thought about it earlier today. I have no problem with something like Prospect. You take a set area, you design it any way you want, and people have their choice of either buying a unit there or buying somewhere else because they don't like that design. That's fine. I keep hearing more and more about, say, a single family home area where a house, for whatever reason, gets demolished. Maybe even there's a fire. And someone else comes along and they want to buy that lot and build a fourplex in the middle of single family homes because then they can make more money.
Right.
Well, I don't agree with that. If an area is zoned for a certain lifestyle, that's how it should stay. If you're starting a whole new area, if you went over to the sugar mill and you built 200 single family homes and 100 duplexes and 25 fourplexes and 3-story buildings with shops on top, knock yourself out, do whatever you want. And people can decide if they want to live there or not. But when you have a pre-zoned area and hundreds of people have bought to live in that area the way it was, I don't think it's right to go in and change it intermittently.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm sorry I didn't let you know, but we are out of time. So would you like to tell people how they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. My name is Steve. The best way to reach me is www.steve for Longmont. If you agree with all the things that I've been saying and you'd like one of my signs in your front yard, you can reach out to my website and let us know. We'll put a sign in your yard. And if you disagree with things that I say, we've never had this conversation. No.
No, Steve, you're open to listening.
I am absolutely
I'm
open
going
to
to tell you
listening.
about SOSAS. Well, thank you, Steve. Really appreciate your time and sharing all this great information. It's been fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.